Hi everybody, Kathy Syrett from the Confident Leader Journey here, um, with the Confident Leader Journey vlog. Of course, you can find this on the Confident Leader Journey page on Facebook, or just find me, Kathy Syrett, on LinkedIn, and you'll find the vlogs posted there. There is a YouTube channel with the vlogs on, and if you subscribe, you'll never miss one. Okay, so today's topic is 5 mistakes that leaders make with empathy. Now, there's so much research out there about the value of empathy in building relationships and building connections, and how important empathy is for the satisfaction of employees and people you work with. And, 84% of CEOs surveyed by Forbes in 2021, earlier this year, truly believe that empathy drives better business outcomes. Okay? People who are understood and people who have a connection with their teams and their leaders outperform people who don't. Okay? So the question has to be, why don't all leaders consistently demonstrate meaningful empathy? And in fact, there are 5 mistakes they make. The first mistake, and it was interesting because this is what the survey showed up, is around fear. 68% of CEOs fear that they'll be less respected if they show empathy in the workplace. How interesting is that? Now, I've done a vlog on fear before and how we cope with it, and how fear is really a signal that we don't feel safe. So something about showing empathy is causing 68% of CEOs to feel unsafe if they show it. It's almost like empathy is a sign of weakness. Okay? Now, I don't know about you, but I think that says more about our society than about the individual CEOs, and about the image that they and we hold in our mind about what a leader looks like, what they're supposed to be like, what they should be like. And for some reason, for a lot of us, the image of leadership that we have in our mind doesn't include empathy. And yet, if we tweak the question just a little bit, and instead of thinking of a leader, we think of someone we would follow, empathy very much comes into the picture. So I think that number reflects that we probably need to rethink our vision of what a leader is and what a leader is like and the characteristics they show. Because if we believe that it does actually drive better business outcomes, then what we're frightened about isn't about performance. It's about how we're perceived by others. And that's a bigger issue. And it's one of the reasons why I have this firm belief that self-awareness is a prerequisite for not just self-management, but for leadership and for being a powerful leader. To be aware of your fears and beliefs around things like empathy, which we know are valuable, which we know are meaningful, and we know make a difference. To really understand those and see how we can allow ourselves to be authentic and empathetic in our leadership roles. So interestingly, the second mistake that a lot of leaders make is they actually hold a false belief that empathy gets in the way of accountability. So they believe that if I'm empathetic to my employees, I can't performance manage them, I can't criticize them, I can't judge their performance, and that empathy kind of is a flood of positive feelings which doesn't allow any constructive criticism at all. And of course, that's a false dichotomy. It isn't his empathy on the one hand and his accountability on the other. And in fact, what experience actually shows is that when you have empathy, genuine, authentic empathy, accountability goes up and self-accountability goes up. So traditionally, in a lot of companies, you're accountable to someone else, to the leader, to the manager, to report back. Okay? When there's a high level of empathy in the organization, people start taking ownership of that accountability themselves and managing themselves. So in fact, not only is it a false dichotomy, it's actually a negative dichotomy in that empathy and true accountability go hand in hand. What's the third mistake? The third mistake is that even those CEOs who believe in it don't role model it. Yeah. So they will say they believe in it, but in their day-to-day actions, you see very little evidence of it. And this could go back again to that whole issue of what is the role of a leader? When I'm being a leader, this is how I behave, and how do I crowbar empathy into that? um, and in crises in particular, a lot of leaders become very task focused under pressure and in a crisis. And the first thing that happens when you get task focused is the people relationship side tends to go out the window. And in fact, it's the opposite of what we find is most effective in a crisis situation. When you actually want to escalate your people skills in that environment, de-escalate the conflict, and then everyone can move forward and get the task done. So the ability to role model empathy and consciously role model it is very powerful, because it's just like human nature. We don't do what you say, we do what we see you do. And if you as a leader role model empathy, then that is what will permeate the organization, and then you'll get the benefits from it. The fourth mistake leaders make is they go, I don't know how to do it, and they don't learn how to do it. See, expressing empathy doesn't come naturally to all of us. It depends on how we've been brought up. It depends on what happened in our lives the first few times we did share empathy. It depends on so many things that it's really hard sometimes to know, how do I express empathy in a leadership way, so that it's not over sympathizing, so it's not necessarily over agreeing with someone, but it's empathizing with where they are. And I don't think it's bad for a leader not to know how to do it, but I think the mistake is when they don't then actively seek out how to do it. Because you can learn to empathize through coaching and practice. There are lots of training courses on this, because there's a big realization that we don't all grow up naturally knowing how to be empathetic. Or maybe the difference isn't between being empathetic, it's in knowing how to express it in a work environment, which can be very different. We all know to some extent how to be empathetic in a social environment, but in the workplace, how do we do it without overstepping boundaries? How do we do it without coming across as patronizing and condescending? These are challenges that leaders face, in fact, that we all face in expressing empathy in the workplace. So strongly recommend that if you have any of those confusions, go and find some resources to support you in it. It is one of the things we look at on the Confident Leader Journey program I run, but that's a 12-month journey. You don't necessarily have to do the 12-month journey in order to be able to know how to express empathy in the workplace, but it's well worth exploring what your options are for that, so you don't fall into that fourth biggest mistake. So we've got fear of being respected getting in the way. We've got false belief that empathy and accountability are opposite ends of a spectrum. We've got leaders who don't role model empathy in their day-to-day life, especially when under pressure. And we've got leaders who don't know how to express empathy, but also aren't exploring learning how to express it. The fifth mistake, and it's kind of aligned with a lot of these, is that leaders who don't make empathy an authentic habit. Okay. When something is a habit, it shows through in the tiny things, in the automatic thoughts, in the unthinking responses and reactions to situations. Making it a habit so that our first response is empathy, so our natural response is empathetic. Okay? That's what it takes to truly create a culture where you will get the benefits of empathy and a connected, an emotionally connected and intelligent workforce. When you've made empathy a habit, it permeates your life and everything you do. And when you make it a habit in the workplace, it influences others to start doing the same in a very unconscious way. And that's when you really start getting those better business outcomes that come from a connected and emotionally intelligent workforce. That's when you start getting those personal benefits from being able to be authentically yourself, your true caring self about people. So I suppose what we're really saying is, if we can find ways to identify and overcome that fear that being empathetic will reduce the respect, if we can find ways to work our empathy so that it enhances accountability and doesn't reduce it, if we can find ways we can role model it consistently, and we understand how we can be authentically empathetic in the workplace, and if we can build those habits, then we are going to be insulated against those 5 big mistakes that a lot of leaders make. And we are going to start seeing the rewards, both personal and professional, of empathy. If you want to know more about empathy or you want to explore that more, give me a call. I do short 15, 30-minute sessions with people where we can explore anything to see if we want to work together going forwards. Or join the Confident Leader Journey page on Facebook, or go to the Confident Leader Journey website, confidentleaderjourney.com, to find out more about the things we do as part of the Confident Leader Journey. Okay, take care.